I was going to say it might help if I turn my camera on, but yeah, it is on. Good evening, guys. Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for being here. Sorry we are a couple of minutes late tonight, but good to see you. I saw a bunch of people already in the chat. Mike, Daniel, Camille, Highland Phoenix, Steve West. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you, and let's get into some Army List tonight, right? Any other exciting news going on in the 40k world? Rizio, Foz. I've been digging into the Knight Codex. I have it here. Trying to make heads and tails of how we can include a knight. I must be a simple man because, boy, this codex is confusing. But, I mean, I've been babysitting kids all weekend, so I haven't had as much time to dive into it as I really have wanted to. Good evening, John. I'll get a video out on the Knight Codex probably, maybe like sometime next week. Canis Rex, John. I liked the one that got me excited. I'm still confused about what rules we can apply to a single knight. Yeah, me too, Mike. I thought I was just being simple. I mean, I am kind of simple, I guess, at times. But the weapon that I really had my eye on, and it's ridiculous. What was it? Give me 2 seconds to find it. There was a weapon. Yeah, the Volcano Lance on the Castellan. Heavy D3, blast. Strength 16, -5. D6 plus 8. I wonder what the twin volcano cannon on the falchion's going to change to. D6 plus 8, I think it's 3 shots. Or it's D3 shots. That's insane. Yeah. I guess that just kills anything, right? That one weapon can potentially do, what's that, 24 plus 3d6 damage? Good evening, Jimmy. Thanks for tuning in. Dark Ginger, hello, good evening. Watch the EOS Art of War Knight Codex review, great info. That's probably a great idea, Reziel. I will check that out when I don't have to babysit the kids, or I'll try and listen to that tomorrow after work or something. But yeah, I plan on making a video into the Knights and how I think they can help Blood Angels the most. Anyway, here we are. It's definitely not the 7th of November. I just realised that. Where's my... There we go. 15th of May. That's what we're looking for. I was going to say we've just skipped 6 months. And yeah, we've got lists to look at today by Lagmeister, Steve West, and Dutster. So we're probably just going to start with Lagmeister. And this was... The last couple of weeks, I think the last 2 or 3 weeks now, we've just been doing member reviews because we've had so many reviews because of the Armour of Contempt change, or there's so many list submissions. As it stands, next week, I just have 2 member lists and nobody else. So assuming... I think we can probably start reviewing non-member lists again. I think we're caught up. But I guess it depends on how many lists come in this week. But yeah, 1 or 2 more weeks of just member reviews, and then we'll start including everybody again. So if you were in the queue and you're not a member, I'm sorry that you've been pushed back down the queue for a little bit, but we should get back to normal pretty soon. Okay. Good evening, Langmeister. Nice to see you in the chat. All right, let's make a start. Hi VC, here's the list I mentioned and I wanted you to review. This is what I refer to as my super meta list. So it has a better balance in shooting instead of just always be charging. I want to try Mephiston because I want to test out Unleash Rage with the Leviathan, already having a 5++. Unleash Rage is core only, right? Or you just... Oh, you mean because you can try Unleash Rage because the Leviathan already has a 5-up invulnerable save? Yeah, but Unleash Rage is core only. But anyway, I guess that's what you mean, hopefully. Leviathan already has a 5-up invuln. I only have 1 Redemptor needing an invuln. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Tetmarine to buff and heal the Dreadnoughts. Usual troop choices, but there's a tactical squad because I originally wanted a Grav Cannon on them, but I couldn't spare the points. Leviathan Redemptor for fire support, and the Leviathans can push midfield if I need to. Sanguinary Guard with swords because, in my opinion, they're a better all-rounder with Armour of Contempt. I mean, axes are still pretty good if you run into orcs or custodes or There's another faction. Death Guard, I mean, axes are going to be better against those three factions. Quite a bit better than swords. Assault Terminators for pushing midfield. I prefer Terminators to Blade Guards. Enemy to Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws plus Chain Swords because they're much cheaper and almost as survivable with Lightning Claws as Storm Shields. I wouldn't say almost as survivable. They are a bit weaker. Devastator Squads with Cherubs plus 4 multi-meltas. I want to try them out since Armor of Contempt means they aren't a pushover and they have more shots than 2 attack bikes. And a Whirlwind for Whirlwind things. Okay, cool. It sounds like it's well thought out. Axes are still good. I like a mix and it's all free. I agree with that, Reziel. Like in the dark theme on your new computer. Do you know what? It's Windows 11 and I don't really... I hate how they've done this thing with the taskbar where you can't get the long names of items. And also they've done this horrible thing on right click. If you right click on a file now, you get this little condensed menu that has nothing that you need, and you have to click show more options to see the old menu. So I mean, apart from that, Windows 11 seems okay. I like it when you could see what your browser tabs were called. Like I think it was just better. Anyway, I digress. The dark theme is nice, I guess, if you're looking at rather than a bright white, isn't it? There's a reg key. I know there's a registry key. I'm waiting for them to patch it. I think they're going to patch it, and then you'll be able to just turn on the old menu. All right, Captain on a Bike, Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, very standard. Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, Thunderhammer, Armor Indomitus. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, you guys know that I have different opinions from other people, but I think this is the best character in the Blood Angels arsenal right now. I think he's brilliant. Chief Librarian Mephiston. With Unleashed Rage, Shield, and Wings. I think that's fine. I think... So I'm trying to put my watch into Do Not Disturb mode for a little while. Right. I think Unleashed Rage and Wings are the two that you always have to pick. And then there's a bit of variance there. Blood Boil is okay. Shield is decent. Quickening is decent. I guess the shield makes sense in this case. Tech Marine, Soul Warden, Master of the Forge, Quake Bolts. This is a Firstborn Tech Marine. Master of the Forge, Quake Bolts. I'm actually not sure why he's 105 points. Because the Primaris Tech Marine with Master of the Forge is 100 points, right? What have you upgraded on this Tech Marine? And I think that, because I've run both, I think the Primaris Tech Marine is better, right? Because the Primaris Tech Marine, you just upgrade him for the 20 points. And the great thing about him is his Forge Bolter is an assault weapon, which means you can move, advance, and still shoot those Quake Bolts. Essentially giving you like a 31 plus D6 threat range on the Quake Bolts. Obviously, the regular Tech Marine, he's just got a bolt gun, so you can't advance and shoot the Quake Bolts, which is a little bit worse. He has a servo harness. Oh, and you have to pay 15 points for the servo harness. Yeah, okay. You need to buy a Primaris Tech Marine. I did the same thing. The Firstborn Tech Marine is fine, but the Primaris one, you're going to get one more wound. You're going to get one more attack. You're also going to get to shoot your Forge Bolter and your Grav Pistol, because that's just something he can do. You also get 2 free attacks with your Mechadendrites. Yeah, for essentially 5 points less, this is just a much better model, in my opinion. And, you know, I think that the fact that you can move, advance, and do Quake Bolts is just quite a lot more powerful than not being able to do that. Yeah, and I guess, yeah. I bought a Firstborn. I had 2 Firstborn Tech Marines. I'd honestly drop the server harness anyway. Like, I don't think people would be upset if you use a model with the backpack on a Tech Marine and you don't pay the points for the servo harness and you just don't use it in game. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. I don't think the servo harness is worth 15 points. He gets he gets the servo arm, which doesn't attack. So what exactly is the servo harness? Just this plasma cutter? It's definitely not worth 15 points. One flamer, one plasma cutter, and one servo harness. What is a servo harness actually? He comes with a servo arm. So you're basically just paying 15 points for a plasma. I guess you got a flamer as well, but yeah, no, it's worthless. Buy a Primaris Tech Marine. Sorry. The Primaris Tech Marine is good. He gets 8 attacks if he's charged and it's turn 3. You know, because he's got 5 plus 1 for charge. Sorry, he's got 4 plus 1 for charge, plus 1 for Savage Echoes, and then he gets 2 with the Mecha Dendrites. I mean, he's a monster. Yeah, I mean, this guy would just get 5. So he gets 3 extra attacks and essentially 1 more wound. And he's 5 points cheaper. You need to buy one. Okay, Incursors, Intercessors, and Tactical Squad. And I guess those 5 points you would just save there, Lagmeister. You could have 2 squads of Incursors. I think they're a lot better than Auto Bolt Rifle Intercessors. Auto Bolt Rifle Intercessors have some edge play, but in my experience, Strength 4, no AP weapons in close combat. Strength 4, no AP bolters really don't do any damage. Like, maybe you pick off a wound here or there. I'd rather just have the Incursors and have the added survivability that Incursors bring, and the board control, and the ability to, like, threaten forward. Alright, elite-wise, you got the Leviathan with the twin Volkites, the Grav, and the Drill. That's the best loadout for it. You got the Redemptor with the Stormbolters, the Macro, and the Onslaught. I mean, again, that's the best loadout. It can get a little bit of benefit from the Rocket Pods if you have 5 points, but it's not a big deal. 7 Sanguinary Guard with all swords. Again, I think it's best to mix swords and axes. I think axes still have quite a lot of importance. Into Death Guard, Admech, and Orcs, axes are going to do like just a lot better. They might also do better into Drukhari as well, if you've got like raiders and stuff like that you need to pop open. Because I think axes will make it that the Drukhari, if it's turn 3 or something, then the Drukhari still won't get a save against axes and it'll be easier to wound. Assault Terminator Squad with the Sergeant with Lightning Claws and the other 4 with Storm Shields and Thunderhammers. That's interesting that you put this. I would have done that the other way around. Like, I would like the extra attack on a Thunderhammer as opposed to the extra attack on a single Lightning Claw. I also sometimes think when Terminators are taking fire, sometimes you want to lift off a cheaper Terminator, like a Lightning Claw guy. If you feel like you're not, like, you know, if there's a lot of heavy firepower coming in and you're going to lose some Terminators, it's nice to have some cheap ones, or cheaper ones, relatively speaking, where you can be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to lose a Lightning Claw guy as opposed to losing. Storm Shield guys are 43 points per model, they're a lot to lose. Vanguard Veterans with the Chainsword and Lightning Claw, and it's a 6. So I actually don't dislike the squad, I guess. I guess it's balanced out nicely because you've got a lot of Storm Shields in the Terminator squad, but I do think having a couple of Storm Shields in a Vanguard Veteran squad is still going to have quite a bit of value. Just because, again, you can pick and choose where you take saves. I think it helps. I also agree with Highland Phoenix where he's saying you should do 3 Thunderhammers and 2 Lightning Claws. I think it should be 3 and 2 either way. So you could go 3 guys with Lightning Claws and 2 hammers, or you could go 3 hammers and 2 Lightning Claws. I like to mix the squads. You never quite know what you're going to run those squads into. The Terminators were made before AOC, so the Storm Shields were useful, plus the Thunderhammers were against Death Guard. I mean, Storm Shields are useful post AOC, right? I mean, I just played against Andrew's list that had like 36 strength 8 minus 4 plasma guns. So at minus 4 plasma guns, even Terminators, unless you've got a Storm Shield, you're saving on 5s. Terminators with Storm Shields are saving on 4s. So depending on the list you're playing against, Storm Shields still 100% have value. But I think the Terminator squad you could save some points there if you tweak the Terminators a little bit. Good evening, Odd Sods. Good evening, Nucking. And are those points not with it? I think there's one extra lightning. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an extra guy. So basically, you've dropped the Storm Shields and you've got an extra Vanguard Veteran. So it's a 6-man Vanguard Veteran squad. You also have the Terminator with, you also have the Devastators with the Cherub and all the multi-meltas that you could possibly want. 175 points on those, and then the Whirlwind in 125. So let me think for a second then. I've run something similar, right? I've run the Tech Marine build with like a couple of dreadnoughts, and it definitely has legs, that build. If you're gonna run that build, then you're gonna need like 3 units of jump stuff to back it up. I think the one thing, my main thing would be swap out the Primaris Tech Marine for a squad of Incursors. If you do that, I feel a lot more confident about the build, just because you're going to need some forwards. You got nothing forward deploying, bar one squad of Incursors, and typically the Terminators are going to start off the board, right? So you're going to bring them in as a threat. So you've got the Sanguinary Guard and the small squad of Vanguard Veterans. You can't really afford to risk the Sanguinary Guard too early in the game, I feel like, if you only got one squad of them. So you're going to risk the squad of Vanguard Veterans. Your Dreadnoughts, you hope, are going to be able to take up a ton of fire with Mephiston there, and then the Devastators can pop out and do some damage. So I've run 2 Redemptors. I think I've also run the Leviathan and Redemptor with the Tech Marine. I've never run them alongside Devastators. I was going to say, when I ran 2 Dreadnoughts before, I actually want to look at one of my lists that I did run 2 Dreadnoughts before with. Give me 1 second. Competitive Army List playlist. And yeah, this list was the list that I ran 2 Dreadnoughts. So I ran a 7-man Sanguinary Guard, same as you. A 6-man Vanguard Veteran Squad, obviously I had Storm Shields, same as you. I ran the Captain and Librarian, the same. I ran a squad of Infiltrators, Whirlwind and an Attack Bike. And then the second part of the list was... I ran the Primaris Chaplain, Blade Guards, Company Veterans, and then the Redemptors and Attack Bike. And Inceptors. Okay, interesting. So you kind of replaced the 2 Attack Bikes with a Devastator Squad. You've obviously got Terminators over the Blade Guard. You've got the 3 troop choice to keep it a battalion. Makes sense. And I mean, I guess you've got more. Obviously, this list I think was a mistake. This Primaris Chaplain in here in this list back then was a mistake. But yeah, I feel like we can maybe lean a little. My thought on this is, like, I feel like we can maybe lean a little bit more on our jump units now. I guess finding the balance is the key point, right? If you run the 2 Dreadnoughts, then a Tech Marine and a Whirlwind, you're you're in for quite a lot of points, right? 410 plus the Whirlwind gives you 535 plus the Tech Marine. Like, let's just say it's the Primaris Tech Marine, the one you should be running. You're in for 635 points. And then you put in the Devastators as well to take you up to like 810 points. By the time you put in your 3 troop choices and then your 3 characters, you have less than 600 points on like close combat assault units. I guess like this is where I am at the moment. I'm trying to figure that out, Lagmeister. You're biased against Primaris. I mean, yeah, you just have to buy that Tech Marine, though. He's just much better. He is just much better. Oh, you think they're biased in terms of Eradicators? I mean, 4 multi-meltas for that cost. I mean, technically, it is more shots. You will get more shots out of them than a squad of Eradicators. You will also be able to put one of them on a better ballistic skill, I guess, if you move and shoot them. I don't dislike the Devastators. I really don't. They're good for Auspex scan as well, right? Like, nothing can drop down near the Devastators unless they want to get hit with 8 multi-melta shots. which for 2 CP is probably worth it, depending on what's dropping in. I just don't, and this is where I'm trying to get to with my list at the moment, is like finding the right balance of like troops, or like, yeah, finding the right balance of jump units.
And with Wisdom of the Ancients, it can
Let me
be
close
pretty
this
safe
a
to
second.
overcharge these. These are one class.
So I'm playing Tau again tomorrow, and let me see how many points I'm spending on jump units at the moment. So I obviously have 2 squads of incursors that gives me more forward deployment, but you can do that in your list because you could save those 5 points swapping out the Tech Marines. So in terms of fast moving jump units, however you want to call it, I guess. I've got 229 plus 192 plus 195 plus 154 at the moment, and then plus the Sangre Ancient for 110. So it's like, yeah, there's somewhere in there, right? Somewhere like between where you are 600 points and where I am 880 points. There's well, you're not quite at 600 actually. But there's a spot in there, I think, that's the right amount of jump units. And jump units on a 2-up save got the most value from Armor of Contempt. So my thoughts looking at this is 7 Sangre Guards, 6 Vanguard Vets, and 5 Terminators is not enough. Melee combat stuff, when like our strength is the fast moving melee combat stuff, and arguably Terminators aren't fast moving as well. So my thought is like, this is not enough, but I don't exactly know what is enough at the moment either. Yeah. We need more point reductions to fit more in our list, says Prune Biscuits. I mean, I would love if Sangre Guard could go back to 30 points a model. They're a headache at 32. Will I be running Death Company anytime soon? I just don't see the value in the Death Company, Burgosaurus. They don't fit with my playstyle, and I don't run the Sangre Priest. I think the Death Company get a lot of value if you can do a turn 1 charge and you're gonna put them with the Sangre Priest. But whatever he's at the moment, 155 points for the Sangre Priest, like, I just don't like him. What did I miss? I've never won with them again with Blood Angels. I never lose to Death Guard. That's interesting. I literally never lose to Death Guard with Blood Angels. And I think the way you have to play Death Guard is we have to use our speed against them. So, what did we say you have invested? You know, like you got 800 some points invested in shooting. Like maybe it's just a little bit too much. I do like two Dreadnoughts and a Tech Marine. The Leviathan got more value. With the Armor of Contempt change, the Redemptor's got more value. So I think this is a decent list. I guess the question is like fix the. Probably all I would do is fix the Primaris Tech Marine, get the second squad of Incursors in there. I mean, I'll let you off with the tactical squad. I don't particularly like it. I don't think it has that much value. But if you're just gonna sit them on an objective somewhere and obsec it, then I guess that's fine. I was going to say, would I drop the Cherub on the Devastators to change it to an Assault Intercessor squad? I think you're pulling hairs there. I think the tactical squad is fine. I just don't think it really does any killing, but I guess that's not really why it's there. So then it comes down to the Devastator squad is the point of contention. It's like the only thing you can really change. Like, do you run this as Devastators, or do you get your like another squad of Sangre Guard in there? Because I guess 6 Sangre Guard are like what, 192 points. So you could totally drop like a Thunderhammer out of that squad of Terminators, and then you would be like just a few points shy of like a 6-man Sangre Guard squad. So I don't know. I very nearly won a tournament with a double Dreadnought, Tech Marine, and then jump units. And that was with that horrible list that had 4 characters in it because I was a bit more naive. So yeah, overall, I mean, I think the list is decent. I don't think it needs too many changes. I just think that the main thing to say is, are the Devastator multi-meltas better than equivalent points in Sangre Guard at the moment? I'd probably argue the Sangre Guard can do a lot more damage than the Devastators ever can. But I guess it just depends on your playstyle, right, Lag? And if you're struggling to beat Death Guard, then Sangre Guard are going to be better than Devastators, I feel like, because Devastators are not going to be mobile. And the way that you have to beat Death Guard is you really have to pick and choose your fights, right? Like, even, Death Guard do have weaker units that you can pick off. And I think the strength of Death Guard in some ways is like almost like a little bit Death Ball-y. Like they bunch together and they have all that contagion stuff and they make it very difficult for you to fight into that. So that's fine. So when you play Death Guard, you just don't fight into it. Just spread yourself around the board, position your guys to make counter charges, and win the game that way. I feel like I can usually always beat Death Guard. I think if you run headlong into Death Guard as Blood Angels, you're gonna lose. I think that's probably the way that. Yeah, I mean the priest with Icon of the Angel and going a little bit cheaper is maybe a valid tactic. I don't know. I've been getting a lot of value out of the Sangre Ancient since Armor of Contempt came out. But I mean, I wouldn't be against running the priest with probably without Selfless Healer, like you said, so I can get a unit into the Salt Doctrine, and I can also pay 1 CP to res a model if I really feel like it's worth it, right? Okay. Yeah, but at the moment, I think that there is a sweet spot between like too much invested in fire support and not enough in jump units. And I get killed pretty badly by a Grey Knight player at the end of one of the GTs because I felt that like our shooting is never that effective, right? Like we're not a shooting chapter. We don't really get any buffs that improve shooting. Yes, you can get chapter master rerolls here and there. Yes, you can get the Tech Marine to give you +1. But like as the game sort of like windows down and there's nothing left on the board and your characters aren't available, then our shooting kind of falls away. You're just hitting on 3s. You're probably wounding on 3s and multi-meltas. It's only 8 shots, so it's probably like 6 hits. It's probably only 4 wounds. Let's say the opponent has a 4-up save. That's only probably like 2 multi-meltas going through in their d6 damage. The average is 3.5 on a d6, right? So it's theoretically, near the end of the game, the squad of multi-meltas into a tough enemy target will do like 7 damage maybe. Whereas like a 6-man squad of Sangre Guard, which is the same equivalent, are going to get like, 30 attacks with Quake Bolts or something if you manage to get that off. Or if you have the Warlord still alive who's going to be in the front lines, you can probably get near enough the full 30 hits. Then you can be wounding, even on wounding on 4s. You end up, I feel like you've got a lot more weight of dice, a lot more potential damage. Death Guard play as a single brick with cheaper units to probe the flanks. If you can deal with the flanks, they're too slow to counter. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, says Harry Lane. And I mean, try watching some of the games lag that I play against Colin. You could literally go through the live games on Monday night against Death Guard. Colin hasn't beaten me in ages, and he does put a lot of stuff into the middle of the map. He does have contagions overlapping. He does have Mortarion. He does have a bunch of Playper Scrawlers, but like you just have to play around them. How can you run away from Morty, who's a 12-inch move? I mean, Morty can only be one place on the board, and he's 500 points, right? So like, just don't engage on like. I've definitely won games where I've just completely ignored Mortarion. You know, you've got Upon Wings of Fire, right? So if he goes after a squad of guys in the corner, then just Upon Wings of Fire, bring them down on the other side of the board, kill him off a much easier objective. Mortarion will kill whatever he gets into. So, I mean, if you're not running Null Zone, I think you have to just play around like you don't try and kill Mortarion. It's a waste of your firepower, unless you get super lucky. Yeah, and I think that's the main thing. Mortarion can only be in one place, so just hit him everywhere else. And if he has taken Mortarion, I actually think Death Guard lists kind of like Mortarion's such a huge investment. I think it. Like I feel as a Death Guard player, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like if you don't take Mortarion, you don't have very much speed in your list. If you do take Mortarion, you've put so many eggs into that one basket, then. And I mean, realistically, if Mortarion doesn't make charges, what does he kill? He's got a gun and he's got Smite or something. You know, like he's. And then sometimes it's fine to just throw a unit into Mortarion to like slow him down, or just give him a juicy target. Your tactical squad, let him kill your tactical squad and just make him waste his turn or something. But yeah, I mean, I 100% that I've played into Mortarion, and typically I always win. All right, let's think about scoring on this list. Obsec holding is about 8.5. Anti-monster infantry is actually pretty good. You've got the Redemptor in there, you've got the Leviathan, you get some Sanguinary Guard shooting you with the Whirlwind. So I think this is probably like an 8.5. Anti-vehicle monster is pretty high as well. 4 damage weapons or 3 damage and above. You've got 4 multi-meltas. You've got 4 Thunderhammers. I really think you could take that down at least 1 and get 10 points back. You got 2 in this Dreadnought. You got 2 in the other Dreadnought. I mean, technically, you actually probably have 3 in the other Dreadnought because you got a Meltagun there. Potentially as well. You get the Tech Marine, you got Mephisto, and you get the Captain the Bike rocking with 2. So yeah, anti-monster infantry is really high. It's like 9.5. I just think that I often say that the strongest thing that Blood Angels can do is their speed, or the strongest thing that we have is our speed. And like, yeah, the Dreadnoughts are not going to have speed, the Tech Marines are not going to have speed, sure. I guess that's why I prefer Eradicators over heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators, because they can move in advance and shoot. But yeah, the Devastator squad is my one question. Mind you, a Blood Angels player did win a tournament with a Devastator squad full of Grav guns and Melta guns, but that was his only fire support. 1 Devastator squad with Gravs and Meltas. Mobility, I guess, with probably like a little bit lower, 7.5, because you have a bunch of unmobile stuff, maybe even 7. We'll say 7.5. You know, we're going to say 7 because you've got tactical squads and you've got incursors that don't have advantage. Like, you know, incursors can redeploy for 1 CP, it's very strong. And then specialization, you've got the ability to stop Overwatch, you've got Fight Last, you've got 2 Denies and Mephisto. You do have units for actions. It's not a huge amount of units for actions, it's okay. 3 damage weapons is very okay. CP is very okay as well. And protection against mortal wounds is actually good as well, because you've got Soul Warden. You're not going to have so many protection on the front line, but you do have protection in the rear guard, so it's decent. I'm going to say specialization. I'm tempted to give you an 8.5, but I'm going to give you a 9. The main question is, can you deal with a brick of 10 Blight Lords? If you run into 10 Blight Lord Terminators, again, right, they move 5 inches. So there's a 400 point squad that moves 5 inches. So what can he do with them? He can sit them on an objective. He should never be able to charge you with them, because you can just move with your jump units so much more than he can. So I guess the question is, like, do you even need to kill the 10 Blight Lord Terminators? If you feel like you do, then you just basically suppress them and multi-charge them, right? And again, he should never be able to charge you. The only chance he's got of charging you with those 10 Blight Lord Terminators is when he brings them down from Deep Strike and he tries like a 9-inch rerollable charge from CP. There should be no other way in the game that he ever has a chance to charge you with them. And like a 9-inch charge with rerolls, like I actually don't know if I've got my formula set up on any dice right now. I can do it in my head, hopefully. So a 9-inch charge is only a 27% chance. So if he re-rolled that, it would be 27% on top of the remaining, like 73. 73 times 0.27. plus 27. So it's like a 46% chance that he can make a charge. And that's one charge he can make. I guess that kind of sucks, but I mean, I'm not so worried. Like, if he's paying 400 points for a unit that only has a 46% charge, I mean, yeah. It's true you can ignore Mortarion and put majority of your power into trying to burn him down. Second method really wants Null Zone. Yeah, I mean, Null Zone is great against Mortarion, but even so, I mean, Mortarion can deny it. It's not guaranteed. With Null Zone, Mortarion is just another Land Raider. I mean, he still has -1 damage. He still has a 5-up Feel No Pain. Not quite a Land Raider. But yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I actually don't know what the sweet spot is right now because I've only played like 4 or 5 games since Armor of Contempt came out. But I do think there's a spot somewhere in between our lists. I think maybe Lagmeister, your list is kind of a little bit early 9th, I guess. I guess I'd call it like we're in 9.5 at the moment. This feels like a 9th edition list. Jump units obviously got a big bonus with Armor of Contempt. Any jump unit or any unit that got a 2-up save. So Terminators, which I'm really glad to see a lot of people have embraced. Terminators are really good. Sanguinary Guard are the big winners, I think. So it really is a case of, like, if you feel like you get more value throughout the game with your 4-man squad of multi-meltas over a 6-man squad of Sanguinary Guard, then go nuts. But I guess just keep that in mind that, like, if your dreadnoughts are giving out enough fire support, then it might be worth considering dropping the devs. And yeah, you 100% need a Primaris Tech Marine. This guy is 15 wasted points. Okay, all right. List number 1 done. List number 2 is by Steve West. Excuse me. Okay. Cool. A lot of people starting with a lot of CP these days. A big change from the early 9th, but cool. Okay, 9 CP. It's going to be a battalion. It's going to have 2 extra relics. It's going to have a captain on a bike with Angel's Artifice, Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, Thunderhammer, and the Warlord. You're most welcome, Lagmeister. Thank you so much for this being a member, supporting the channel. It's very appreciated, and hopefully, if you got any more questions, please ask them. But I mean, my plan, I guess, over the next few months is to try and figure out what the sweet spot is, and then I'm going to go and try and win a tournament with it, and then hopefully I'll be able to report back on my tournament winning list, hopefully. But yeah, please check out some of the games where I've played against Death Guard. Basically, every time I play them as Blood Angels, I win. And I guess if you want to fire me any questions about any of the thoughts and how yeah, anything about any of the games, please, because I actually think Death Guard are an easy matchup for us. Or a favoured matchup, I guess. Yes, the Death Guard have some things that counter us, but their whole army is really slow. Except Mortarion, I guess. They're just slow. Alright. Librarian. Unleash Rage, Blood Boil, 4 sacks, Icon of the Angel. No jump back on this Librarian, huh, Steve? Icon of the Angel seems like a strange choice if you don't have a jump pack. Primaris Chaplain on a bike, Mantra of Strength, Hero of the Chapter, Armor Indominus. Alright, so I've tried to build like a bit of a smash chaplain without going too heavy on the warlord traits and relics. And hold on, you've given him Hero of the Chapter, which typically means you get to pick a warlord trait for him, but you haven't picked one. You've given him one of the extra relics. Yeah, what was the warlord trait you were running on him? Oh, right, there's librarians in the Terrax. Okay, alright, that makes total sense now. Okay, how do you deal with the bloat drones? Suppress the bloat drones, right? And again, I guess it's gonna be it's so I've played against a Death Guard player that literally put Mortarion and 3 bloat drones on the front lines and just ran them all against me. So yeah, I mean you've got your couple of dreadnoughts to try and pepper them down or kill a bloat drone. I guess focus fire and try and take one out, and then whichever one is most likely to make a charge, you would suppress it. And if it's I mean, bloat drones into Sangre Guard, they're -1 to hit, so only hitting on 4s. I guess bloat drones have lost a lot of their strength into Marines, right? Because they're -2, so they're just going to be -1 now. Bloat drones don't move as fast as us, though, right? They move like 8. The chaplain has Soul Warden. Oh, right, okay, cool. It's a good choice. Protection against mortal wounds. It's been a little while since I played against the Mortarion bloat drone spam, or whatever you want to call that. I feel like bloat drones move 8. Maybe it's more. Alright, so they move 10. But I mean, the strong thing of the bloat drones before was like the flesh mowers, right? Like, I guess all their weapons got quite a bit worse against Marines. But yeah, I'm 100% sure I've played against Colin's list where he ran Mortarion and three bloat drones, and I'm sure I played against it a couple of times. I have come around to using the tactical squad with 1 heavy bolter to dish out mortal wounds. I guess that's okay, odds odds. I don't feel like it's that brilliant when you just make a single hit roll, but I guess it's okay. Yeah, I haven't played into that list. I don't know if we'll see that list anymore, Lagmeister. Like, I mean, the strong part of that list was that it was -2/2 damage, so it killed Marines left, right, and center. But now that it's only -1, I mean, if he runs it into Sangre, if he ran a bloat drone into Sangre Guard now, he's only hitting on 4s. Yes, he gets 12 attacks, right? But he's only hitting on 4s, so he only makes 6 hits. He's then wounding on. I forget if bloat drone. I think they're played weapons. Surely they're played weapons. God, I hate this new Windows. How do I get my tab back up? It must be plague weapon. Yeah. All right. So he's wounding on 3s because of contagion. He's re-rolling 1s. So yeah, sure, he makes a bunch of wounds. Let's just say for argument's sake he makes all 6. But you're only getting -1 now. So even if you made every wound roll, you're only losing, like, on average 2 Sangre Guard. And then surely the 4 Sangre Guard left in the squad can pump him back, right? He's only got 9 wounds, 4 Sangre Guard left. It's like 16 or 20 attacks. He's only saving on 5s. And remember, I mean, if you suppress a bloat drone, you should actually be able to kill it before it does any damage, right? The Melter Bomb strat is better than the Heavy Bolter strat. That's probably true. Half past Matt, yeah. He'll be wounding on 2s because Strength 7 be Toughness 3. How's he? Oh, 2s, yeah, sure. Okay, so he's going to make all his wounds, yeah. But still, I mean, before he would have killed 3 Sangre Guard, now he's only killing 2, so, I mean, straight away. So let's say he makes 2 charges with bloat drones and you've suppressed 1. Well, you kill 1 straight away, and then the other one only kills a couple of guys now, and then you kill most of it back. So I feel like bloat drones are. I don't know if we'll see bloat drone spamming. We might see it. But I actually think the Mortarion and bloat drone list is probably not going to be that strong anyway. Or we're not going to see it that much more anyway. Alright. Troops for Steve West. Assault Intercessors, Incursors, very solid troop choice. Blade Guard Veterans, 5-man with the Volkite pistol and the Sergeant. Death Company, we've got 3 hammers, 2 power swords, an Infernal Pistol and a Plasma Pistol. I feel like Plasma Pistol is wasted points here. But apart from that, it's okay. Sangre Guard with swords, axes, and an Infernal Pistol. It's good. Vanguard Veteran Squad with a Grav Pistol and a Thunderhammer. 2 guys with 2 Lightning Claws. A Lightning Claw and a Storm Shield. A Grav Pistol and a Thunderhammer. A Lightning Claw and Storm Shield. A Chainsword and a Lightning Claw. An Infernal Pistol and Relic Blade. That squad is going to actually be a nightmare for you to micromanage, right? You've got about 5 different weapon types in there. So, I mean, I guess if you feel confident micromanaging a squad like that, I've actually watched other, like Vanguard Tactics. The guy actually recommends, like, if you're going to run a squad, like, let's say Sangre Guard, he actually recommends you should run them all with the same weapon type. So you don't make, like, decisions like this really confusing for you. You combat a squad of them. There was not 10, was there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can't combat squad them if there's only 8. Steve, you would need 10. Oh no, this isn't 2 guys with lightning claws. This is 2 lightning claws and a single guy, right? But yeah, I mean, Grav pistols. What are they like? Strength 5 -3 1 damage. I mean, we don't really see Grav pistols on. Strength 5 -3 1 damage. I mean, I guess the Grav pistols are fine. I just think like having a squad with this many different weapons is going to be very confusing. Like you don't want like if you give. I feel like this is just making the game like more confusing for you because like. You need to know what your unit's going to do into people. Like if you got an Infernal Pistol, which has got 6-inch range, you've got 2 Grav Pistols that have got like 9-inch range, you've got an assortment of Lightning Claws and Thunderhammers, and then you've got the Relic Blade as well. It just seems like when you're allocating attacks in close combat, you're making this difficult for yourself. When you're shooting, you're potentially making this a little bit confusing. Maybe it's fine. But I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have it quite as all over the place, I guess. I mean, Vanguard Veterans are good. Don't get me wrong. All the weapon options you have here are fine, I suppose, as well. It's just going to be a lot to remember. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be difficult when you're figuring out exactly what they're doing. The Grav Pistols are decent. The Infernal Pistol is obviously good. The Relic Blade's good. Having some Storm Shields is good. Having Thunder Hammers is good. I think it's going to be a bit of a tricky squad to manage. That's all I'm saying. If you're comfortable doing it, though, by all means. We then have a Devastator squad with 2 Grav Cannons and 2 Multi-Meltas, and Combi Melt on the Sergeant, which I kind of think is wasted here. You actually don't want the Sergeant shooting for the most part, right? You just want him to be giving someone else +1 to hit. So if you think about like a Combi Melta getting 1 Melta gun shot, and the Sergeant making like one of your Multi-Meltas +1 to hit, like that's just as good, I would say, and it saves you the points of a Combi Melta, which I guess is probably like 10 points. Having dedicated units to me are better than having a take all corners squad like this. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if your unit has like 2 profiles, you know, like, hey, this unit's got mostly swords, but it's got a few Thunderhammers in it, or this unit's like mostly Lightning Claws, it's got a few Thunderhammers. But if you start peppering in too many things, I think it can make it difficult for you. So I would save the 10 points on this Combi Melta. You got the Whirlwind, and then you've got a Terrax. The Twin Terrax Volkite Charger, I actually looked at this. So you're paying 10 points for the Twin Volkite, right? Is it that much better than the Flamer? I guess it's got range where the Flamer doesn't have range, but I suppose the interesting thing about the Terrax would be like, would Terrax be under heavy support, surely? Terrax, why am I not seeing it? Oh, dedicated transport, maybe? Huh. Never would have pegged Terrax for dedicated transport. I mean, I actually think the Terrax is really good for 180 points. So you swap out basically 2 heavy flamers, and they're not. Yeah. You swap out 2 heavy flamers for Twin Volkite chargers. So it's 8. So the heavy flamers are going to average like 7 shots, I suppose, auto hitting, -1/1 damage. So 7 auto hits, -1/1 damage. Strength 5. The Terrax is the same strength. You're going to 8 shots, BS3, so you're going to get 6 hits. So it's basically 10 point. You only got 20-inch range. I actually thought they had more range than that. I guess it's an okay 10 points. I feel like if you really needed to save 10 points, I wouldn't have a problem with the double flamer. I feel like these Volkites are you're only gonna ever get like 6 wound rolls. So you're really only ever gonna do 1 mortal wound. So I think the difference between these two things is minor. I guess the 8-inch range is maybe important. So what's coming out of the Terrax then, Steve? It's gonna be the Devast. No, surely it's not the Devastators. The Death Company? Because there's no there's no jump packs in the Death Company, right? So it's gonna be like Death Company and Librarian coming out of the Terrax, is that right? The Sergeant can shoot and give something BS2+. Oh, can he? I thought, did they change that DTM? That shows how little I've run Devastators. The Sergeant used to not shoot to give the +1 to hit, right? Or, I mean, we're not a faction that typically run Devastators. I thought the Sergeant. Okay, all right. So you can just pick somebody and make them shoot better. He doesn't need to be like an action for him. Okay. Death Company, Librarian, and the Terrax. Okay. I mean, if you've got all these Devastators coming out of the Terrax, then maybe you could save the 10 points on the Terrax and just have the heavy flamers to clear some screen. What's up, the end? How you doing? DTM says I always take the flamers in mind. The ballistic skill degrades on that model, and it's cheaper. I guess that's maybe my point. So you could save 10 points on the Terrax. You could save 10 points on the Devastators, unless you really think the Combi Melta is worth it. Might be, I suppose, if you're Alpha striking out of a Terrax. The Vanguard Veteran Squad is the one squad that's a little bit confusing to me. The Blade Guard, they're fine. I don't dislike Blade Guard. Just when we did Math Hammer a few weeks ago, right? And I made this video called, it was about Storm Shields, right? Are Storm Shields worth it? So, against AP0, Blade Guard keep up with Terminators and Relic Terminators, 100%. Against AP-1, Terminators and Relic Terminators are essentially twice as survivable as against the Blade Guard, right? Into AP-2, Terminators are 50% more survivable on the Blade Guard. Against -3, is this -3? I guess everything starts hitting the Storm Shield and it keeps up. So, Blade Guard are a weird squad for me because when I used to play Blade Guard, and I played them in both tournaments that I went to last year, I played a 5-man squad of Blade Guard. And what typically happens, it seemed like in every... I'm going to say every effing game because I was about to swear there. I'm getting better at controlling my swearing now with my 2-year-old running around. In every effing game, I would pay 1 CP to transhuman the Blade Guard, and they'd pretty much they die anyway, or they get really badly wiped. The only way you get the Blade Guard across the board is advancing them from cover to cover. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they just end up out in the open and they take a beating. And that's what moved me to Terminators. And when you actually start looking at your 15 made and painted, geez, okay. Alright, I got 5 Blade Guard made and painted, and 2 others that are pretty far on. Yeah, my point stands though. Terminators are more survivable now than Blade Guard, and they can get to where they need to be a bit easier because you can start them off the board and just teleport them in, which almost gives you like an 8-inch rerollable charge for a great unit like that. It's a great threat. That's a sick. It's a sick. If you bring the unit in as a Blood Angels player and you have a CP to reroll the charge, it's a 65% chance. So basically, it happens every 2 out of 3. So would I rather pay? I mean, you can make a Terminator squad for 180 points, right? You can have Relic Terminators, I think, for 175 points. You could possibly even put a Chain Fist on the Sergeant, so you have like a 3 damage weapon. Because Relic Terminators are 34 points per model. 34 times 5 is 170. Yeah, so you can have like 5 Relic Terminators with Stormbolters and Lightning Claws. They're more survivable now than their Blade Guard, and you could have 2 Chain Fists in that squad. Or you could have something like a Chain Fist and a friggin' Heavy Plasma Blaster, or Reaper Autocannon, or Grenade Harness, or Heavy Flamer. You got a lot of cool options actually. So I was already off Blade Guard. I guess I'm off them even further now. 165 points for 5 Terminators with dual claws. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you can make a better squad than the Blade Guard. Plus, the thing about the Blade, yeah, I mean, they've got transhuman, but in my experience, it doesn't really help. If people are gonna go after Blade Guard veterans, they're gonna throw so much into them that, you know, they're going to throw enough at them that the transhuman. It's very rare that you play transhuman and it actually saves stuff. On paper, it looks like a great stratagem. In reality, the second you play transhuman, people just double down on killing that unit because you've spent the CP. Sometimes it seems like Highland runs relics at 3 Chain Fists and 2 Lightning Claws, 5 Stormbolters, and if the points are Grenade Harness. But I wish they had the Teleport Homer for flexibility. That means I have to use them differently. True. I mean, I guess they don't have Teleport Homer, but it's not like Blade Guard veterans have Teleport Homers either, right? Nico says, evening everyone, nowhere else to really share this, but in my first tournament I came 4th out of 10, winning 3 out of 5 games, and not only losing to 1st and 2nd places, Blood Angels reigned supreme. Congrats, Nico. If you've got nowhere else to share it, come join us in our Discord. There's a link in the video description. I mean, we've got a pretty big community over there on Discord. What's the feeling about chat with the Gravis captain with the heavy instigator bolt gun? Due to the AOC buff, I feel when I set a chapter master and given the chapter master relic an iron will for 9 wounds. I mean, the Gravis captain's decent odds. I would never really rate like a one-shot bolter. I'm pretty sure it's a one-shot gun. I'm gonna check, but like guns with like single shots, I guess you've got to factor in. Is it this one? The heavy bolt rifle? This is a Gravis captain. I mean, I just think. I guess this rapid fire, strength 5 minus 1, 2 damage. I don't know. A captain on a bike or a jump captain, I think, are just still better for us. Yes, you can have this captain with 9 wounds, but like, how are you getting across the table? Because the only transport Gravis can go in is a repulsor, and you're definitely not running a repulsor, right? Because no one's running them. So then he's walking across the table for a couple of turns. Whereas, like, maybe if he was a jump character or a bike character, you could get in combat that much quicker. I don't really rate. I like the survivability, and I often talk about how I build my army to be survivable, but like, I'm not a huge fan of the Gravis stuff. It's too slow. I mean, even Terminators are too slow, but I run them because they can teleport strike in. If you could teleport strike in, maybe I'm be okay with the Gravis captain, but yeah, okay, let me think about this list, Steve, then. We got the Devastators with the Grab and Multi-Melta, we got the Terrax. We obviously got the Whirlwind, and we've got Death Company and Librarian with the rerollable charge. So I actually really like Icon of the Angel with Terrax, because I guess some people might not realize this, but most of the time when you have something that gives you rerolls, it says like core only now. So like, for example, like a warlord trait that let you reroll charges might say core only, but Icon of the Angel actually says nothing about core. Why am I not seeing this? Icon of the Angel, yeah. So basically just this friendly Blood Angel unit. So you get to, when you drop down that Terrax, you get to reroll the charge on the Terrax, which is really sexy, I guess. Because the Terrax does so much damage in melee combat. So you get the Terrax with a reroll charge, you get the Death Company with a reroll charge, you get the Librarian with a reroller charge. So you've got 3 really good charges, and 2 out of 3 make it, because it's 65% chance with the reroll, right? So that's really good. Your fire support, I guess, will be a little bit exposed after that, but I mean, it's an alpha strike, so to speak. You got 2 really survivable captains, or characters in the captain and the chaplain. You got the protection against the mortal wounds there. You've got the forward deployment from the cursors. We've talked about why I don't like the Blade Guard, and I think this list would be stronger with Terminators. Sanguinary Guard are good. I actually do like a large squad of Vanguard Veterans. I actually do like a large squad of Vanguard Veterans more than I like a large squad of Sanguinary Guard, because I think with the Storm Shields you can actually make them pretty powerful. The Thunder Hammers also let you engage into just about any target, including -1 damage targets, and still be pretty effective. There's also Melta Bombs on there, so a single guy or 2 left can actually do good work. So I like the Vanguard Veteran squad a lot. I just think that maybe there's a little bit of like consolidation here. I might even add a couple more Storm Shields and lose some of the Grav Pistols. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think it's a pretty decent list. I like it. I wonder if quickening would be better value for your librarian. I suppose he's definitely going to unleash the Death Company. I'll be back in 1 second. My daughter just woke up. Okay. I revamped the list as you suggested. Can't wait to play it. Yes, I put Blood Boil for a lack of better knowledge. I mean, if you're doing this sort of alpha strike, right, what's going to happen is you're going to jump out the Terrax. You're probably going to jump out quite aggressive, I would guess. The Death Company and or the Devastators are going to be quite exposed. I actually think you might be better off here running Shield of Sanguinius. And I might put the shield on the Death Company. Because I guess anything you can do to keep that Death Company alive, or even on the Terrax. Oh, you probably can't put it on the Terrax because it's not core. But typically other people have had value about using the I mean, you could also put it on the Devastators. So I guess whatever unit you think the enemy are going to put their most retaliation into, then I would possibly say, like, just shield that unit. Because if that unit can survive, and the Death Company are a good one to shield, right? Because they can also pay the CP to do refusal to die. So essentially, they would, if they struggle to kill the Death Company, you give them a 5-up shrug for 1 turn as well, for 1 CP. You could, that might be how I go. And then I guess if the Death Company are still, if they're more alive, then that gives them more value out of Unleash Rage in the next turn as well. So that's something that I could go with. I think the thing you need to buy probably is Terminators. I mean, Blade Guard are fine. I just think they're very difficult to really be effective. Again, I think they're more beginning of 9th edition. They're really good. Shield can go on anything that's Blood Angels, I believe. Can it? Shows how little I play Shield of Sanguinius as well. Apparently I can't spell shield. Oh. Anything that's Blood Angels. Well, yeah, so, I mean, even the Terax. So if they have some, like, really nasty firepower, like Multi-Meltas or something, and you think that they're going to take out your Terax, then say, screw it, and give it the shield. Any worry with 2 HQs being on bikes and getting through buildings and going around? I have no worries with that, personally. I mean, bikes can auto-advance 20 inches. I think, and I guess the cool thing about bikes is if you do advance, then you can make yourself -1 to hit. So if they try and shoot your characters for whatever reason, you can make it a little bit more difficult. Sometimes, on some terrain, it can be annoying to go around buildings, but I think if you play bikes enough, like I've been playing a bike captain now for, I don't know, 18 months or something, because I just think he's much better than the jump captain. I guess if you play him enough, then you can get to a point where, like, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't go through buildings. Yes, I mean, sometimes it can be a pain, but, like, the captain, being your warlord, typically just needs to be within 6 inches of the Sanguinary Guard to give them +1 to hit. He can dish out the Chapter Master rerolls at the start of the turn, then he doesn't need to keep up. I actually have no problem with being on a bike. I think the extra wound and the extra toughness he gets on the bike is well worth the amount of times that Chapter Master survived, just because he's harder to wound. I think it's worth it. I have 5 Thunderhammers and 5 double Lightning Claws. Then I would make yourself a Terminator squad that is a mix. Maybe like 3 guys with Lightning Claws, 2 with Thunderhammers, and I'll place them in reserve. And then, I mean, technically, if the Terminator squad was in reserve, they could also join the fight, right? Next to your Icon of the Angel Chaplain. Your Icon of the Angel Librarian, and you've got, like, even more Deep Strike / Alpha Strike threat. I fancy getting a Terex drill, I really do. I think it's a fun unit. Death Company, Terminators, Terex drill, all charging. I mean, that's going to delete some stuff for sure. So, I think it's a cool list, Steve. I don't really have so much experience running Devastators, but the math says that they're pretty decent, and I'd probably swap out that Blood Boil for Shield. Anything else I'd swap out? No, I'd probably just tidy up the Vanguard Veteran Squad a little bit, if you can. The rest of it looks good. I like it. Okay, let's talk about scoring. I'll get used to this new Windows 11 at some point. Alright, so Obsec Holding. We're going to 8.5 for the same 3 troop choices. Anti-infantry effectiveness. Well, we do have actually quite... the Terax can do that. The Devastators can do it. Sanguinary Guard can do it to an extent. The Whirlwind, I guess, doesn't really kill anything now. It's there for other reasons. So maybe like an 8. Anti-Monster. How many 3 damage weapons did we have in this list? We've got 2 on the Captain. We've got 1 on the Chaplain. We've got 1 on the Librarian. That gives us 4. We've got basically, 4 more in the Death Company. one in the Sanguine Guard that gives us 9. We've got 2 Thunderhammers here giving us 11, and then I guess the Multi-Melt is 13, and the Terrax 14, 15, 16 or something. Yeah, so anti-monster vehicle is actually absolutely fine. I feel like the mobility is better than the last list just because we've got that Alpha Strike. We still do have Blade Guard, which suck at mobility, but 2 of our troops are in Cursors, which gives us the access to Guerrilla Tactics. And I actually think Guerrilla Tactics is such a high value stratagem. Like, Guerrilla Tactics can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing games, right? It's just such a good stratagem. So I'm going to say 8.5. And then Specialization, so we can turn off Overwatch, we can make the enemies fight last. We only have 1 deny, so a little bit, maybe half a point off for that. Units for actions is good. We've definitely got 3, potentially more. And potentially 5. 3 damage weapons is good. CP is very good, and protection against mortals is good. So I reckon Specialization is like 9.5. The only real problem here is probably the fact you only have 1 deny, but you can't. I always talk about this list. You can't specialize against everything. You're gonna be weak against something, right? So yeah, I mean, this is a very high scoring list. Could drop the pistols in the Death Company for 10 points to spend elsewhere. Yeah, I'd probably actually really recommend you do that. Make it in, if you can make that, drop some of those grav pistols. See if you can make it. I would take that up to 10-man Vanguard Veteran Squad, and I would combat squad them at the start of the battle. And I'd also maybe see if you can switch out this Blade Guard Veteran Squad for some Terminators. And I think you've got like a really, really strong setup there. Okay, we've got Dutster up next, and he's worried because these 2 lists have been really good. Well, I mean, there's nothing to worry about, Dutster. Nico, thank you so much for becoming a member. You are a legend. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to get my subscriber goal done for me. So I'm really close now. So thank you so much for that. Please submit a list if you haven't done so already, Nico, and we'll get you to the top of the queue. I guess if you did submit a list in the next couple of days, you would be up for review next week. So yeah, do that if that's something you're interested in. And also, if you join the Discord, you can go into like settings, and then you go into like linked accounts or something. You can link up your YouTube to Discord, and you get access to our members only room. Yeah, so Dutster, don't worry at all about the list. We'll get into it. The whole point of the show is to get people to make better lists, right? Sometimes I need one of you guys to look at my lists, to be honest. So everybody's trying to learn. Everyone's trying to get better. Things change so often as well in this hobby, like Armor of Contempt has changed everything, and who knows what Space Marine 2.0 is going to bring. So thanks so much for the submission, Steve. I hopefully gave you some good points there. I always do say, though, it's usually worth maybe keeping your list the same and running a battle with the list you submitted to me, right? And thinking about what I said, obviously, right? So, like, run a battle and go like, oh yeah, you know, my Blade Guard veterans did get killed in the middle of the board and they were really ineffective. Now let me try those Terminators, and oh right, they did a lot better, for example. So, you know, it's I think it's definitely worth doing a battle, maybe without too many changes. Something that, and I think this is a key thing for anyone that's making army lists, like, just change like one model or one unit at a time. Like, don't go like, oh, this list didn't work, I'm going to throw the entire thing away. Incremental changes, I think, are the best way to do it. Alright, let's get into Dutster's list. J Money says zig when everyone else is zagging. Exactly. Cool. Alright, so this is a 7 CP, and it's a battalion, and we're starting with 2,000 points. And we've got Angel's Ascendant, so one of our sergeants has some sort of upgrade, and we've got 2 relics of the chapter. Okay, we got Astaroth, which is a cool character. Tough character to run, but very good. Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate, so we can give him that nice 4 damage weapon. We also can make it a 7-inch rerollable charge, or 7-inch charge, which I guess we can do rerolls on. And we also get access to Massive Doom. which is a really nice litany that probably... The one thing that I dislike about Astaroth is how they didn't give him the... They should have given him the Warlord trait, the Wiserator. He's still... I mean, I guess technically maybe that stuff came out around the same time, so... But I really like the idea of, like... I really like the idea of the named characters getting access to those chapter command upgrades that would make sense that they would have it, right? So that's the one thing I dislike about Astaroth is litanies are only going to get cast on 3s, so maybe that means you have to spend 1 CP to... maybe you have to spend 1 CP to guarantee a litany cast, right? He does have the... he does have the keyword, I'm sure, the Master of Sanctity, so I think that means... What does Master of Sanctity mean, actually? I don't run Astaroth enough. I know a lot of people in the channel and stuff like him. Master of Sanctity means that... Oh, he knows more litanies. Okay. It's the Wiserator part that lets him use the stratagem for 1 CP. So I guess if you wanted a guaranteed litany with Astaroth, it's 2 CP. So that kind of sucks. But I think a lot of people do like Astaroth. He's a beat stick and he can do a lot of work, right? And Highland Phoenix, I think, agrees that he should have the automatic... There's no reason that Astaroth, who's literally, like, he's a god in terms of, like, our named characters, he should have the +1 to litanies. It's kind of dumb. Maybe in the next edition codex they'll do that. Unfortunately not Nico. It's the Wiserator Warlord trait that does that. But he just has the ability to do 2. Okay. My experience of litanies on 3s is like they never cast when you really need them, and when it's 2s they just always cast. I mean, I guess it's the difference between like hitting on 2s and hitting on 3s. You know, hitting on 2s you usually feel pretty confident. Hitting on 3s, there's always that niggle there where it's like, man, this multi-melt is gonna miss, isn't it? When I really need it to hit, you know. All right, Captain on a Bike, Gift of Foresight, Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, Armor Indomitus, Imperium Sword, and a Thunderhammer. Okay, so it's a little bit more of a beat stick one. Captain on a Bike. I like it. I guess you get a boatload of strength 9 attacks. I run the exact same build with the Adamantium Mantle, which is giving him a 5-up shrug. I think there's merit to both. I guess it depends on what you want him to do. If you want him to smash face, this is a good build. If you want him to just linger around and cause a problem for the entire game, then consider Adamantium Mantle. I've had a lot of times where Adamantium Mantle has kept me in the game, or kept my Chapter Master in the game. But I mean, both builds I think are fine. I think, personally, I prefer the Adamantium Mantle build. It's a build that I've been running for a long time. Wiserator just gives it success on 2+ in the free strat, or it's a reduction strat, yeah. And he can do 2 litanies. You're right. Master of Sanctity let him do 2 litanies. We then have a Death Company Captain on a Bike who has a Chainsword. He is Champion of Humanity. He's Death Company Captain. He has an Infernal Pistol. He has the Teeth of Terra. Okay. Champion of Humanity is +1 to wound enemy characters. Each time this warlord fights with an engagement range of enemy characters, add 1 to his attacks, and each time the warlord makes a melee attack against character, add 1 to the attacks hit and wound roll. Okay, so you've kind of got this guy geared up as a character killer. Why is he so expensive? Yeah, he's 100 points, plus 20 points for the Death Company, plus 5 for the Infernal Pistol. Okay. I like the Death Company Captain on the bike. I've run him before. I like the fact that you can Forlorn Fury him 12 inches forward, I think it is, and then make your 14-inch move and pretty much threaten anywhere. If you do run him that way and you use Teeth of Terra, very early in the game, I would just blow your Death Vision and add all the additional attacks that way. I've run him without an Infernal Pistol. I mean, the Infernal Pistol is interesting, I suppose, because you'll hit on 2s, so why not for 5 points? But yeah, with the Teeth of Terra, he's a cool character. You can very quickly get in excess of 10 attacks, re-rolling all your hits with the Teeth of Terra. I guess you you just need experience on how to play him, right? Because like I've run him where I've just ran him straight forward and he's died. Um, but there's other times I've ran him forward. Sometimes that character can, even though you've got him geared as a character killer, sometimes like just going and removing like an obsec unit off an objective with his like 10 attacks can actually be really, really effective. Good evening, Sellers. How you doing? All right, Assault Intercessors and Cursors. This seems like the most common troop choice, which is really funny because I feel like 3 squads of Incursors is the best choice, but no one runs 3 squads of Incursors. I guess everybody is trying to find 10 points here or there, so everybody feels like what's got to give is a squad of Incursors, and they change out them for the Assault Intercessors, which I think are totally fine as well. I just think the Incursors are better. We then have a squad of Death Company Marines, and it's 4 Thunderhammers and 3 Infernal Pistols. I guess the Infernal Pistol guys obviously have the Chainswords. That's 236 points. We get the Sangre Ancient with the Wrath of Baal, giving us that +2 to move. How do you find it when you run a Death Company Captain and the Death Company? I guess that means one of the 2 units is Forlorn Fury, right? So it might be interesting to basically threaten 2 sides of the board potentially. Sellers has got 3 squads of Incursors. Okay, somebody managed to get the 3 squads of Incursors. I've had the view that most of the troops are pretty Medicore. What makes the Incursors good? Incursors get forward deployment, right? So you can push them onto midfield objectives at the start of the game. They also can potentially do a little bit of damage in melee because they've got their -1 knives. So a squad of Incursors early in the game will get 16 attacks. I like to use a Librarian to basically cast Unleash Rage on them from like an obscured position. So basically you can get your 16 attacks and your 6s are going to explode. And also what they can do is they can wrap up, they're OBSEC as well obviously, and they can wrap up enemy models. I've been playing into Tau, for example, so I would use like a squad of Incursors to maybe kill some stealth suits, contest an objective, just be a general little pain. And the other great thing about Incursors is guerrilla tactics, right? So they can basically at any point remove themselves from the board and redeploy down next turn. And when they redeploy, it's obviously you can just charge in at that point as well. Yeah, and I mean, I guess for screening as well, because you get the forward deployment, you can screen pretty much anywhere on the board. But I think the turn 1 threat from the Incursors can be brilliant. And like sometimes, I mean, I've had it against Tau where I've just charged them into something that they have no chance of killing, but it means like the Tau player is now stuck either shooting a squad of Incursors at point blank range or falling back, right? And Incursors can also transhuman and smokescreen, so they can be -1 to hit, and they can also be, they can't be wounded on anything less than a 4. It sometimes seems insane to pay 2 CP in like turn 1 on a squad of Incursors, but sometimes what that can mean is like the enemy will literally fire their entire army into a 100-point model, and they won't kill them. If they're in cover, they're in a 2-up save, they're ignoring 1 AP, they can't be wounded on anything less than a 4, and they're -1 to hit. I've done it before, and it's... Yeah, I did it against Tau, and he literally had to shoot his entire army, Storm Surges and everything, into this one squad of Incursors, and they literally almost lived. The Sergeant almost lived, and on another day, that Sergeant lives with 1 wound on an objective and OBSECs. I like Incursors a lot. Alright, got the Sangre Ancient with the Wrath of Baal. We already mentioned that. We got a Sangre Guard with a good mix of swords and axes. We got the Vanguard Veterans with jump packs, and all with double lightning claws. I would have loved to see like at least 1 Storm Shield in here. What were you bang on 2,000 points? I guess it's fine to not have it and just go double lightning claw. Storm shields do still have a bit of value in Vanguard Veterans. When I did the maths on last week's value video, Dutster, there is a bit of value here. I'm trying to think of like, yeah, I mean, I guess you got to run them and think about it. Like maybe a Storm Shield or something in here has some value. We've got a squad of Inceptors with the plasmas. We don't see these so much these days, and I really do actually think that these guys need a rules update where ones just deal mortal wounds as opposed to killing a model outright. I think if they did that, we might see a return of these guys. I think killing a model outright sort of pushes them out of competitive play at the moment, because competitive is so difficult. Killing your own 60-point model on a roll of 1 is absolutely brutal. So I don't run Inceptors for that reason, I guess. I don't think they're bad. If they did 1 mortal wound to themselves on a roll of 1, I'd be all over them probably. You'd probably see me run them a few more times. I actually made a really cool conversion for them where I gave them Sangare Guard Wings. I thought I was being really smart. Here's this guy that likes to spam my channel with his bullshit. Okay. Landing them next to the captain, reroll 1s is the chance I take. Yep. I guess the thing to point out is if you do the maths, you get 18 shots from the incursors, right? And the chance of a 1 rerolling into a 1 is 1 in 36. So basically what that means is every second time you drop them next to the captain and fire everybody, it's a 1 in 2 chance you're going to lose one based on, I mean, that's just the math, right? So if you're alright with that, great. If it was a 1 in 2 chance you took a mortal wound, I actually still think that's a pretty big negative, but I guess it's not. The rules right now, I hope they fix that. I really hope they change Space Marine Plasmas. Because I think if they change that, we might see Hellblasters get some time in the meta as well, but we don't see them. I don't think in Sights we get enough of that in Messenger. Yeah, I've noticed as we got more and more subscribers to the channel, we get more and more spam. I get like every day I have to delete comments of people spamming their websites on my channel. I really thought YouTube would do a better job of like stopping that. You know you're making it when some grifter starts spamming what next to Nigerian Prince in the chat. Yeah, that sounds about right, James. Yeah. We then have Eliminators with the Las Fusils. And hopefully the Sergeant, I was going to say, he's got the Instigator Bolt Carbine and he's got Quake Bolts. So this is brilliant. I've run this before. This is really good. This lets you shoot, move, shoot. It also lets you advance and shoot the Quake Bolts, giving you like very decent range on the Quake Bolts. And also, I actually like the Las Fusils a lot. The flat 3 damage on them is really nice. And I haven't run Eliminators since Armor of Contempt came out. But Eliminators with Armor of Contempt are going to be really strong now, right? They're going to be like a 1-up save and cover, ignoring 1 AP. So even if you hit them at like -3, they're going to save on 2s, is that right? Mortal Wound isn't enough of a penalty, John. It's basically been no downside at all. What about Tau Plasma DTM? Tau Plasma are Strength 8, -4, 3 damage. And they don't take any mortals when they roll 1s. Come on. Come on, how is that fair? I mean, if you compare... Battlesuits are arguably more survivable than Gravis models as well. I think they both move 10. You're going to make me look this up now. Crisis Battlesuit. This could be another one of my flame videos where like I'm like, Games Workshop, why have you not done your rules right? So... Crisis suits move the same. Alright, they got 1 less ballistic skill. They get the same toughness. They've got 1 more wound. They get the same save. They're only 30 points. And you could put 3 plasma rifles on them. So they're 45 points. They're strength 8, -4, 3 damage. No -1. Plasmas have never overheated on Tau. Well, sure, but Space Marine Plasma overheating is so... It's a legacy rule. It needs updated. Jimmy says, God damn, I wish I was good at his maths as you. Hellblasters need some love. I mean, practice, man. I mean, if you practice enough, you'll get good at math. I actually think that you should... Like, you'll be a better player if you can, like, you don't need to do every single math at the start of a game, but you should know some of the odds, right? Like, for example, like, you know, if you have Sangre Guard and they're next to the Warlord, so they're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, that's a 97% chance to hit, right? So that's a really interesting stat to know, Jimmy, because it's like, if I'm going to make this charge and I know I have 30 attacks, I can instantly go, right, all right, so I've got 97% chance to hit, so I know I can almost be like, right, they're all going to hit, right? And then you can work out, right, so I only wound on 4s. So, for example, straight away I know he's going to need to make 15 saves. Like, what's a save? Like, so if you, the more math you can do, and it doesn't have to be, like, broad strokes like that will actually help you a lot in the game. For example, like, I used to have to fight Andrew when he was running Morganval with all those bodyguards and nonsense like that. And you never really want to make the charge if you don't, if you think you can't win the fight, then you don't want to make the charge. And I guess that comes back to, like, when I was saying about Meister earlier, and he was saying, like, he's really struggling to beat Death Guard. And I was like, well, I typically always beat Death Guard, but I guess I typically know, like, and yeah, sometimes the dice fail you. That always happens. I would say that over the course of a game, the dice sort of average out. Like, I never blame my losses on the dice. Yes, I've had some games where the dice abandoned me, but, like, typically the game was either won or lost based on the strategy, right? If you need the dice to be rolling good, then you fucked your strategy up, I guess, right? So, yeah, Eradicators, heavy melta rifles. I guess they have bolt pistols as well. I actually didn't even realize they had bolt pistols. Okay. Eradicators have bolt pistols? Is that a thing? I guess. Okay. And then we've got one with the multi-melta. Ulrich Bayer Rupsitson, thank you so much for subscribing. We are getting very close to 10,000 subscribers. It will be very cool to hit that. And then we got the Whirlwind as well. So fire support is Inceptors, Eliminators, Heavy Melta Rifle, Eradicators. This is actually pretty strong fire support. I still complain that I don't think they should. I still don't think they should overheat the plasmas. What's the counter to Tyrannid Warrior spam? Toughness 5, 3 wounds apiece, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. I haven't actually fought many Tyrannid Warriors. Is that something that's come out of the... Is that something that's come out of the new Tyrannid Codex? Do you know what? The website I'm using has probably not been updated yet because Tyrannid is just released. They can't overcharge their plasmas. Why do they need to overcharge them when they're 3 damage a shot? God damn Tau plasmas being so good. And they got an extra wound on their guys. So they're just that much more difficult to kill too. Charged my friend today. Strength 9, 3 or 4 attacks. A lot of 3 damage weapons. Wikipedia is up to date for NIDS. Oh, is it? Oh, cool. Okay. Let's have a look at Tyrannid Warriors. T5, 3 wounds, 4 up save, 25 points per model. Okay. And I mean, 3 damage is going to help. Lightning Claws are going to be good here. I feel like Sangre Guard are going to be pretty good. Have they got -1 damage or anything? Again, I mean, the more you play Blood Angels, the more you will realize that our movement on our jump units is like our giant, it's our strongest thing. So if you're playing into Tyrannids and they only move 6 inches, they should never be able to charge you, really. I mean, occasionally, yeah, sure they will, but for the most part, you should be able to pick and choose your engagements, right? They can be given transhuman and be given a 4++. They have a strat for -1 damage, so be careful recommending 3 damage weapons into them. Yeah, so Lightning Claws are going to be good. Sangre Guard are going to be okay, and Thunderhammers are going to be okay. Charge them with a Librarian Dread on 7 Death Company and got wiped the next turn. Yeah, I mean, sometimes Null Zone can be good. Are you running Unleash Rage, Nico? Because I find Unleash Rage can make or break some of these big engagements. Especially if there's some way to like reroll hits. Unleash Rage just gets better and better, right? Okay, so heavy support, Eradicators, Eliminators, and Scepters. I think overall your heavy support is pretty good. Heavy Metal Rifle Eradicators are a little bit immobile for my liking, but I guess Inceptors kind of counter that because they are very mobile. The Whirlwind is obviously useful. The 4 jump units are all good. I like that you've got the Ancient when you've got the 4 jump units. Gives you that additional movement. The troop choices are good. I like 2 of your captain picks, or both your captain picks, I guess. Astaroth, I don't run him personally. I did run him before they put his points up. Some people swear by him. I guess the litanies can be a bit swingy, but he can be very useful as well, and he can do a bunch of damage. So overall, I actually think this list is actually pretty balanced and pretty decent. It's not something that I would run, but I play Blood Angels different to a lot of people, right? And I think there's a good few ways we can play them, right? You've got a lot of forward threat in turn 1. You've got good units that you can back it up with. You've got those Quake Bolts, which are very useful for anything else that gets in combat. And yeah, actually, how many 3 damage weapons you got then? You got like basically 3 out of the Eradicators, 2 out of the Eliminators, 7 in the Death Company. A lot of investment in the Death Company, I guess. And then the captains, both of, and Astaroth as well. So yeah, you're pretty sorted on 3 damage or more weapons as well. So OBSEC, we're going to go with the same 8.5. Horde clearing, I guess like your Inceptors are really your horde cleaning unit here. Or clearing unit here, sorry. It's maybe a little bit weaker than the first list with the double dreadnoughts and some other firepower. So something like that. Loads of 3 damage weapons. And the ability to get like +1 from the Sanguinary Ancient, +1 from Quake Bolts, rerolls from the Chapter Master, rerolls for the Death Company. So there's a lot of good stuff here. Mobility, I guess the Eradicators are the one thing that really are not going to be mobile. I guess the Assault Intercessors as well. But overall, I think mobility is actually good. I'm trying to think how it compares to the last list. Is it a little bit better on mobile? Is the mobility a little bit better? Than Steve's list. It's about the same, really. I mean, where Steve had like the Death Company without jump packs, he had the Terrax. So yeah, I mean, it's really just Assault Intercessors and the Eradicators that aren't mobile. So yeah, I think 8.5 is fair. And then specialization, we've got the Fight Last, we've got Deny. We've got Fight Last, and we've got like Overwatch Denial. We don't have denies. I was thinking for a minute Astaroth or way to have deny, but no, it's Soul Warden he has. Units for actions seem fine. We've got the 3 troops, and then we have some other units that could do actions. 3 damage weapons is good. Starting CP was 7, so tiny little bit low, but overall decent. Protection against mortal wounds. That's the one thing that I guess you're lacking. It's not, like I said, you can't do everything. So it's not sort of the end of the world that you don't have it. So it's like denies, CP, protection against mortal wounds. It's like a 7.5 or an 8. I feel like it's a 7.5, but I was generous early. Did you? You would have to make Astaroth he would need to be the warlord to get the to get Soul Warden, right? And this guy's got 2 warlord traits, so you would need to do a switch around on something here. You could probably drop Imperium Sword, save yourself 1 CP, and make Astaroth the warlord for the Soul Warden. That might be worth it. Into certain armies, if Astaroth's with like the Death Company or the well, maybe not the Death Company because they have a built-in Feel No Pain, but the Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard Veterans, it could be worth it. I'm not entirely sure you need to switch this around though. I feel like you don't, but I mean, it's just something to consider. Sometime, like, these are my categories that I score in every list. So yeah, I feel like you don't need to change it, but it's worth mentioning. So I think all three. I think the lists, the caliber of lists that we're getting, like these are all close to tournament ready. I don't think we see Inceptors in tournaments at the moment. I think my experience of heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators is they're quite hard to run because you need them to be in cover. They can't advance and fire. And yeah, I like their damage output, don't get me wrong. I think I've said it before, if you have to go to the enemy, I find heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators difficult to play. If you're fighting up another melee army and they're going to run at you, I think they're a brilliant unit. So, heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators for me are a little bit difficult to make work, I feel like. I don't think they're a bad unit at all. Okay. So I think Steve's list just pips the other two this week, but I think all three submissions were actually really good. I'm trying to think if there was one that I particularly like the most. It's funny that like all these submissions are good, but they're just a gnat's wing like away from what I'm running, right? If one is multi-melta anyway, maybe normal melta other than the other two would be fine. Says Highland Phoenix. I mean, by having one as multi-melta, it just means that you kind of unify the squad, which in some ways has value because then you know where the squad needs to be to do all the damage, or however you wanna frame that, I guess, right? About my only thing that I don't like, I guess, is like the Death Company is like a strange size. I wouldn't say it's a strange size. It's going to be 2 CP if you want to Forlorn Fury them, or 1 CP to Forlorn Fury your 1 Death Company captain. And yeah, I guess you could add a couple of Storm Shields into the Vanguard Veterans. What do you prefer more, Rites of War or Soul Warden? I feel like it's an impossible question to ask, Camille. In a take all comers list, I don't know. You know, I feel like Soul Warden was really important when Grey Knights and Thousand Suns Codex came out, because those guys were doing so many mortals that was ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, it really depends if you're into Psychers, I guess. I feel like I would probably lean on Rites of War being more valuable right now, because it's more likely to flip you 5 or 10 points. But I can't decide. I probably need to give my Sangre Ancient runs Wrath of Baal, right? So he probably needs to take one of the two, Rites of War or Soul Warden. And he typically runs with my Sangre Guard. So protection against mortals will be good, but flipping an objective could also be very good and could help me win the game. So I feel like just because like if you ended up on an objective where the enemy had OBSEC units and you could kill them and you could leave a single Sangre Guard on that objective, for example, or the Ancient who is now OBSEC, then I think that's going to be more valuable, just because like you end up they murder your squad, but you got just the Ancient left, for example, and he's OBSEC, so it's like, okay, you lost 4 points, I gain 4 points, and that can essentially win the game. And as much as I do like having that shrug against the mortals, because it is good to have the shrug against mortals, it's a tough call. It's a really tough decision. Dutster says the Inceptors are reserved for turn 2. Yeah, I assumed that you would be reserving your Inceptors, Dutster. It's a cool list. Is there anything? Have you run this list, Dutster? Is there anything you're thinking of changing for the future? Yeah, I mean, I actually had Battlescribe open before this before the stream started, I was like playing around with my list a little bit. I think I may as well do it now. I think I'm gonna add wherever the hell it is, hero of the chapter, and I think we're gonna put OBSEC, Rights of War, on my Sangre Ancient. I was half thinking about dropping the Eradicators for a Dreadnought, but I mean it would mean probably dropping the Land Speeder as well, so I hadn't quite plucked up the courage to do that. I'm not sure. I've got Tau tomorrow night. And I think into Tau, for example, like I think OBSEC on the support character or the support character and the units around is going to help. It's going to help more against Tau because they don't really do mortal wounds for sure. But I think in a take all comers list, I think sometimes OBSEC will win you the game. I guess that's why I think incursors are so good. Being able to guerrilla tactics them out, get them somewhere else, and OBSEC an objective. The amount of times that's won me games or flipped me 8 points has been huge. Yeah, I never run 4 characters because it gives the opponent an easy secondary. It's a very good point, Dutster. Maybe I should have. Do you know what? Maybe that should have been on that list here as like 3+ characters. Like if you're running, like I think you just shouldn't run over 3 characters because it just makes it makes assassinate an easy pick. Nico says, quick question this time. Does the bolt snipers ignore lookout sir also apply to Tyrannid guard bodyguards? The bodyguard rule was rewritten so that basically the bodyguards need to be closer to the sniper for it to count. So if your sniper is closer to the character, then you can shoot him and the bodyguards don't affect anything. If the bodyguards are closer than the character, then you have to shoot the bodyguards first. I don't have any land speeders though, Highland Phoenix. That's the problem, yeah. I only have one land speeder. Do you know what? I have a second land speeder. But it's the one with the assault cannon underneath. I guess I could rip the assault cannon off it. But how would that help me, right? I'd run 2 land speeders. I have 55 points left over. I don't know what I'd do with my 55 points. Tyrannid Guard just give Tyrants lookout sir normally. They don't get it because they have 10+ wounds, so anything that ignores line of sight can target the Tyrant. Yeah, I mean, anything that has more than 9 wounds can't be bodyguarded as well. That's something that's worth mentioning. Landspeeder Storm. I don't own a Landspeeder Storm. I don't know why I would, because I would never pick Scouts, man. Oh, you're saying that I could run like 2 Landspeeders and Landspeeder Storm. Doesn't give me very much firepower. Landspeeder Storm just has a heavy bolter on it, right? Yeah. Okay. Alright, then I think we're about done for tonight, guys. I have to go to bed very shortly anyway, so we're going to be back tomorrow night at 7:30 for a rematch on the no forward deployment map against Tau, so that should be a fun one. So stop past, and I think I should be able to do well. We're going to be playing on a tournament terrain setup, so it should be, and I feel like I can definitely do better than I did last time. The shock is the storm is good for engage. Yeah, I know it's good for engage. And here's the thing, I guess. Most of the enemies that I run into, my Eradicators haven't, like the -4 of the Melta, the multi-Melta is very wasted. I guess that's why someone was like running. I have a bunch of Devastator models, but I definitely don't have very many at all made with grav cannons. But yeah, like somebody won a GT running a bunch of grav Devastators, right? It was like 3 grav Devastators, a multi-Melta. I don't even know if he had the Cherub, honestly. So it costs 5 points more to run like 3 grav Devastators in a multi-Melta. I mean, I think it's decent. I mean, it's not great into killing like Drukhari raiders and stuff. Yeah, it's round 3, JT money. I beat Tauth first time. He beat me the second time, but when he beat me, he set the train up wrong. So this is a rematch on the second table with the train set up correctly. Trust Andrew for setting the train up wrong. Okay, so that's. I mean, that's tempting as well. I guess I could make some more Devastators. For me, this hobby never ends. I see things and I change things, and maybe I'll make some Devastators. I prefer the idea of running 3 Grav Devastators and a multi-melty Devastator instead of Eradicators overrunning another Landspeeder and a Landspeeder Storm. Because I feel like you do want some fire support, and I feel like Devastators do it. Devastators are just as survival. If you get them in cover, they're just as survivable again as the Gravis guys now. So do we all still lose our betting points if you fudged up the setup? Unfortunately, we did, Steve. Yes. Good night, DTM. We'll catch you tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna head off, guys. I'll probably be just playing. I'll be playing with Rights of War tomorrow anyway. I'll be playing with a single Volcon at 170 points. I haven't played with them since they've been 170 points. I haven't played with them since Armor of Contempt came out either. So, yeah, this is me for tomorrow. I'm going to save this in a new list. AOC Volcon. And, yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. And thanks so much for the submissions. If you do want to submit a list, you know where to do it. You go over to the community tab and you just submit your list as a text file there. If you enjoyed tonight's video, appreciate you hit the like. And thank you to my new member. I see it on my screen. Nico, I really do appreciate every new membership. Thank you so much for thinking and supporting the channel. It means a lot. And I'll catch you guys sometime this week. If you need any videos or you want anything dived into as well, just leave me a comment on any of my videos and I'll add it to the list of content to create. By the Blood Army, Strong Brothers. Good night. Peace.